What is up, Friars Nation? It is a perfect week for the San Diego Padres. Welcome to the On Friar Podcast. We're doing something a little bit different on this one. We are trying something, doing a little live streaming on the YouTube. Y'all can jump in, give us some comments, let us know how you're feeling about this. We're going to talk about Jackson Merrill's money, the perfect week that was, why the Dodgers cannot let us have anything nice. They have to go 8-0 while the Padres are 7-0. And we're going to talk to a guy who was in the Yankees organization, who's now with the Padres, who actually was the very epicenter of the Torpedo bat revolution. Yes, talk about what the science is behind that and how it took baseball by storm. Hey, jump in, give us some comments. We're going to make this as interactive as we possibly can. I'm your host, Derek Togerson. Darnay Tripp, who usually does this with me, had a last-second thing. He had to take some time off to go and take care of some stuff at the house. So it's going to be me. Hopefully it's going to be you, and we're going to talk about all things Padres after an epic, historic week. Let's get right to it with the walk-up music. Okay, so welcome again to the On Friar Podcast. Let's go ahead and say thank you to OGs. They are the sponsor of this wonderful, fine baseball product that I know you all love to jump in and talk about. They have all the good food, all the good drink. Go out there and check out the Final Four this weekend. And, of course, if you were around there, you probably saw some pretty decent San Diego Padres baseball this week. Who would have ever thought that the Padres would go 7-0 to start, which is just absolutely phenomenal when you think about it, because who would have thought that this team that was overlooked by so many different teams, so many different people saying, oh, well, they didn't really do anything in the offseason. They really don't know what they're talking about. They don't know what's going on with AJ Preller not signing anybody and letting Jurickson Profar walk. By the way, how does that look like right about now? Hi, Roberto. What's going on, man? Oh, he says the chat is disabled. Hey, would you mind going and tell one moment, please, folks? I'm going to tell Oz that the chat's disabled, see if he can figure it out. Technical difficulties. Obviously, I'm the old man who doesn't know how technology works. So we're going to see if we can get that chat set up for you. In the meantime, I'm going to go and give you a few things that are on my mind. You guys can tell me how you feel about it when we get this whole thing up and running. All right. Well, first of all, as we said, for the first time ever, the Padres are 7-0. Dodgers, of course, are 8-0. They're the first defending World Series champions ever to start a season with 8 consecutive wins. It's the first time, by the way, in Major League Baseball history that 2 teams in the same division have won at least their first 7 games of the year. And, oh, by the way, the National League West is pretty darn good. The Giants are 5-1. The Diamondbacks are 4-2. You look at the National League standings, and I know it's only been a week, but it's been a really good week because 4 of the 5 best records in the National League are in the Western Division. The 5-1 Phillies are the only team from the East Coast or the Midwest to sneak in there on the top 5. How did that happen? Oh, yeah, the Giants had a really good offseason. The Diamondbacks had a fantastic offseason. Now, of all these teams we're talking about in the West who have really started well, and, of course, thank goodness we have the Rockies here to give us a buffer to be terrible as everyone knew they were going to be. I think the Diamondbacks are sustainable. I still don't know about what the Giants are. I mean, they played a fairly average Reds team for 3 of those games. Did sweep Houston, although the Astros, they're not the same team that they have been the last few years. So we'll have to see what Bo Mel's old friends up there in San Francisco, what they're going to be able to maintain this year. But, man, I'm telling you, the National League West all season long is going to be really, really tough. It is going to be really fun to watch. This is one of those years where you're either really happy you don't have to play your division rivals 19 times a piece because they're all really good, or you're kind of sad that they only play them 12 times a piece because all these games are going to be really, really good baseball games. And I know people are kind of freaking out about the Braves because of the Jurickson Profar suspension. They started 0-7. Listen, going to San Diego and LA to start the year, not exactly the easiest thing in the world to do. They don't have Spencer Strider yet. They don't have Ronald Acuna yet. I will maintain this. The Braves will end up not just with a winning record, they will end up in the playoffs this year because they're too darn talented not to. And what does that say about how good these teams out west are, that they're 7-0 and 8-0 against the Braves? the Braves couldn't beat them one time out here when they were probably going to be a playoff team themselves. So it's a fantastic start for not just the Padres, but the whole National League West. And I think that that bodes extremely well for the entirety of this baseball season. It's going to be really fun to watch. Jackson Merrill. That dude should never have to buy a drink or a meal or a piece of gum in San Diego ever again. I mean, that dude, he turned down millions. All right. He's got a 9-year, $135 million contract, and he's got a whole bunch of escalators. Hey, the chat's available. Roberto, thank you for taking care of that. By Roberto Castanares, by the way, one of our wonderful photojournalists and a Padres season ticket holder. So he's on the Padres bandwagon, as you all know. So yeah, hop on the chat now and let us know how that's all working out. Like I was saying, Jackson Merrill, man, 9 years, $135 million is $15 million a year. That's what he's going to be counting against the competitive balance tax. And that is huge for the Padres moving forward. I mean, next year, $17 million of Eric Hosmer comes off. So the Padres are getting Jackson Merrill, who's still a couple years away from his prime, for $2 million less a year for the CBT than Eric Hosmer was costing them even this year when he's sitting around doing whatever he's doing off not playing baseball anymore because he's not good enough to do that. The fact that he took, and I know there are escalators, could push it over $200 million. A lot of them are very easily attainable, 500 at-bats or 500 plate appearances. If he finishes in the top 10 in MVP voting, by the way, he did that last year when he was 9th as a rookie, when he should have been the rookie of the year. So yeah, he's going to get paid. He's going to make his money. But what really is great about this is it shows everyone that Jackson Merrill is only about winning. And that's something he said multiple times during his press conference. It's like, listen, put a team around me. And this really reminds me of Tom Brady and Patrick Mahomes and some of these greats in sports that have the salary caps on them. They say, I don't want to be the highest paid. I mean, they don't want the Dak Prescott money. They don't want what Brock Purdy's trying to get. They say, hey, listen, I'm getting paid fine. In fact, Patrick Mahomes even said himself, I'd something be wrong with me if I had a problem with my contract. But you're not trying to be the highest paid player at your position because you don't care. You'll get your money elsewhere, endorsements, whatever it is. They want to make sure they have a viable team around them to win. Jackson Merrill's taking a page from two of the greatest athletes to ever do it. It's amazing to see this kid at 21 years old to have this kind of wherewithal and this kind of desire to be in San Diego and want to have a team and around him that can win in San Diego. I mean, just a fantastic look for Jackson Merrill. Thank you, Jackson Merrill, for doing things the way that you are, in fact, doing them, because it's great to see a guy saying, listen, I'm fine. I'm going to be good financially. I want to make sure that we win. And the way that we can win is make sure we have a bunch of money around to bring in a whole bunch of other great players. And now this core for the Padres is going to be around for at least the next 5, 6, 7, all up into 2033 or so, 2034. The window is now wide open, the championship window for the Padres. Jackson Merrill was just that big of a piece. Tell me what you guys think about the Jackson Merrill contract and how awesome it is and how important he is going to be to the San Diego Padres and the city of San Diego in general moving forward. Talk about Dylan Cease, because Dylan Cease, I think, is evolving as a starting pitcher. All right, listen to this. He went 6 1/3, gave up 1 run, 1 walk, and 7 strikeouts in their 5-2 win over the Guardians on Wednesday. But that's not what impressed me. What impressed me was it looked to me like he took a page out of the Greg Maddux book. And let me explain to you what I'm talking about. I'm looking at his fastball velocity. In the first couple of innings, 94, 95, right? Didn't even touch 96 until the 4th inning when he did it twice. And he's got, 94, 95 with that 4-seam fastball. And I was thinking, I hope nothing's wrong with him, because we've seen Dylan consistently 97, 98, 99 with that 4-seamer. The dude throws hard. The dude throws heat. And he wasn't getting there. And there's this little thought percolating in the back of my head of, oh, no, because we've seen it too many times. A little dip in velocity all of a sudden is very often a precursor or a sign that something very bad is happening with an elbow or a shoulder or an obliques or a back. Something's going haywire with a pitcher. And then what really impressed me is 7th inning, bam, here comes 98. And he did it twice. The last batter he faced, he's throwing 98 miles an hour fastball on his 90th, 91st pitches of the day. And that really showed me, okay, nothing's wrong with this guy physically. It's in there. What he's doing is, and what Greg Maddux used to say all the time, and he told it to me personally, he could throw 95, 96, 97, but he didn't need to. He would break that out 4 times a game because he knew that taking just a little bit off and locating his fastball and moving it around, he would then have more in reserve in the tank. So for when a hitter's locked in on him and he could foul off a couple pitches and start working a longer at bat, that's when Maddox would go and get 96 and blow the guy away because he hadn't seen it all day and he couldn't catch up to it. That looked like what Dylan Cease was doing. And I think that the fact he threw his new changeup 11% of the time, and it's become a real legitimate weapon for him, a strikeout pitch, a swing and miss pitch, as Mike Schultz said a couple times, a soft contact pitch. The fact he now has that thing at his disposal, and he threw 6 different pitches. He threw a two-seamer a couple of times. He threw a sinker. He threw a sweeper. He doesn't throw the sweeper very often. He threw his knuckle curve. Of course, he relies most heavily on his bullet slider, which, again, is going to be one of the most dominant pitches in all of baseball. And 40% of the time he's throwing that. And his fastball, 35, 36, 37% of the time he's throwing that. But now that changeup's become a real weapon, and it's coming in there at an average of 78 miles an hour, 77, 78, 79. It tops out at 80. Well, when 96 is chased by 77, it looks a lot that the difference in the speed of the pitch is dramatic. And that makes the hitter think either the 77 mile an hour changeup is 62 or the 94 mile an hour fastball is 99. So if he truly does have this weapon that he's comfortable with and can rely on, and as he said after that start on Wednesday, landed in the zone more often, he's going to be more comfortable and better at landing that changeup in the strike zone. If he can continue to do that, he's not going to have to go out and get 98, 99, which again, we know he can do, but he can only get that, guy starts fouling him off, starts timing him up a little bit, bam, here goes 95 to 98, 99, and then that guy's blown away, he's walking back to the bench. So if Dylan Cease is able to pitch like this the rest of the season and continue to learn how to deploy his stuff, A, it's going to keep him fresher, B, it's going to keep him in games longer, and C, it's going to make him every bit more effective and dominance as a starting pitcher. I mean, could not have been more impressed or encouraged by what I saw out of Dylan Cease in that start. I mean, just truly an awesome thing. And again, his first outing was okay. It was just kind of all right. His second outing, that's the kind of thing we're going to see from Dylan Cease the rest of the year. Michael King was the same way. Had a really rough start on opening day. What's he do? Chases that, comes back out, bam, locked down. Guardians couldn't touch him. It was a fantastic start from him on Tuesday night. And with those two dudes throwing the way they have in their second starts at the top of this rotation, and then we all had Randy Vasquez and Nick Pivetta going a combined 13 shutout innings to start the season. We all had that one on our bingo cards, right? Everybody predicted that. No, we didn't. Those two dudes, and then what Kyle Hurt did, comes in and gives up 2 runs in 5 innings and looks like a legitimate left-handed starting pitcher. Man, this starting rotation, again, it's the first week. I know it's overreaction time. That's what we do the first week of the baseball season. We overreact like crazy, but it's fun, right? It's better than underreacting. Again, as Brian Snitker said, if this happened in June, nobody paying that much attention to it with the Braves' 7-game losing streak. Well, if the Padres had a 7-game winning streak in June, it'd be like, oh, that's pretty cool, nice. But the fact that it's coming at the very beginning of the year, the off-season narrative very much has an impact on what the very first week of the season is. Because the Padres were 2-5 right now. Then the offseason narrative was, did A.J. Preller do enough? Did he go out and find enough players to keep up with the Dodgers and the Diamondbacks and all these teams that made all these splashy moves? And if they started off 2-5, that narrative would really take root. If you say, I told you he didn't do enough, the Padres can't compete, they're going to get boat raced by the Dodgers, the Diamondbacks have passed them by, they're not going back to the playoffs. That would really follow them and dog them deeper into the season. The fact they came out and go 7-0 to start, now that narrative is dead. And everybody's saying, wow, AJ's a genius. AJ had everything in mind. He knew exactly what his team needed. He knew exactly what they had in mind. He knew exactly what Gavin Sheets was going to be. He knew he'd come out there and be a guy who looks like he could be a potential all-star in the DH spot. He knew that Nick Pivetta going from Fenway Park to Petco Park would look like a guy who's going to be, an all-star himself and have a sub-2 ERA the entire year with massive strikeout numbers. It's just so awesome that everybody can get on board with the positivity of this team coming off of that offseason. All right, another thing I want to talk about. What's with the 30-something-year-old base stealers, right? Look, Manny Machado has 4 stolen bases. Xander Bogaerts has 3 stolen bases. We expect Fernando Tatis Jr., who's got 5, who's just one behind the league lead of O'Neill Cruz and the Pittsburgh Pirates. By the way, the Padres as a team, second in all of Major League Baseball behind Pittsburgh in stolen bases through the first 7 games of the year. We expect Toddy to go out there and do it. He's 26 years old. He runs like a deer. He's going to get his steals. He's figuring out as he gets on base more, he could be an Acuna type, a 70 steal guy. But Manny Machado, his career high for stolen bases in a single season is 20. He's already got more steals now than he had in 2 full years of his career. We played 7 games. Manny Machado is on a 92 steal pace for this year. I know he's not going to steal 92 bags. That's Ricky Henderson type of stuff. That's Vince Coleman kind of stuff. He's not getting there. But the fact that the Padres as a team have this ethos that everyone's going to run and that they want everybody to take as many bases as they can. And then to see guys like Xander Bogaerts, his career high for stolen bases in a single year is 19, which he did 2 years ago in his first season in San Diego. Yeah, these guys are taking bags all over the place. And if they continue to do that throughout the season, this is going to be a team that, as we know, they feast on you. They go after you. They foul pitches off. They are pesky. They extend at bats. They take walks. They single is death by paper cuts. If they can go out there and take extra bags on top of it like this offense will add a whole new dimension to it that is going to make them even more difficult to deal with. So, yeah, I'm loving seeing the quote-unquote old guys out there ripping off bags. Manny Machado, at the age of 30-something, is 3rd in Major League Baseball in stolen bases. Maybe Manny gets his first 30-30 season. How great would that be to see? That would be just incredible to add something else, a little extra dimension to this offense with these quote-unquote old dudes who's getting after it. All right, and then the other thing that really, before we kind of hopefully start opening this up to some of y'all's comments here, is the Torpedo bat. Now, we all know what the Yankees did in their first weekend, hitting 15 home runs. That ties a Major League Baseball 3-game record, or three-game series record. They hit 9 home runs on Saturday alone. All right, now, the Yankees have had some pretty good ball players in their day. Talking Babe Ruth, Lou Gehrig, Mickey Mantle, Roger Maris. I mean, and even when he was juiced up, Alex Rodriguez, Reggie Jackson, Joe DiMaggio. They've had great hitters. The Yankees have never hit 9 home runs in a game in their franchise history. Not exactly a team that is bereft of slugging talent with their 27 World Series championships. And I think a third of the 500 home run club is guys who played for the Yankees. So the fact they were able to do something for the first time ever, yeah, that's going to get some eyes on it, and it's going to generate some attention. But this Torpedo bat thing is very interesting, all right? It was, as you know, run it through real fast. MIT educated engineer in the New York organization a couple of years ago started designing these bats. The idea of it is, and this is so great because baseball has been around for 140-something years. And every time they said, well, we got to teach our guys to hit the ball in the barrel. So the engineering mind comes in and goes, well, why don't you just put the barrel where the guys hit the ball? Just build a different bat. And everyone goes, after 140 years of baseball, goes, oh, God, can we do that? Sure. So it takes an engineer about 14 seconds to figure out, move the barrel to where the guy hits the ball. So they had this a couple of years ago, and they've had guy Anthony Volpe is using it, Cody Bellinger's using it, Jazz Chisholm is using it, even a guy, the 37-year-old Paul Goldschmidt has switched to using it, and they had a great opening series. Well, another guy who was using it, who was on the ground floor of all that, is Padres outfielder Brandon Lockridge. Before he was Padres outfielder Brandon Lockridge, he was Yankees prospect Brandon Lockridge. He was a 5th-round pick of them in the late 2010s. So he was there when all this stuff started to come around. So I grabbed Brandon this week in the clubhouse and said, hey, man, tell us a little bit about your experience with the Torpedo bats, where they came from. Give us a lowdown. Give us some of the science behind it. Give us some of the feel that you had. So I'm going to play you this about 3.5 minutes or so of my conversation with Brandon Lockridge with his take on what the Torpedo bat is, where it came from, and where it might be going as Major League Baseball, again, overreacts to something that's brand new.
I would say it's probably been 2 years or so that 2 years ago, I think in spring training was when Aaron Leanhart kind of introduced the bats to us in spring training. And I mean, they did quite a few orders. There were a lot of bats of those that you could use in the cages and stuff. And I tried them out in the cages. And like I said, I had a bat that I'd had a good year with prior, so I liked the feel of it. I kind of just stuck with the model that I was swinging. But I'm really surprised, honestly, the amount of guys in their lineup that's using them now. I was just telling him I think I need to reach out to some of my buddies over there and just see their reasoning, because, you know, a lot of guys tried them early on and just stuck with the bats they used, and now to see kind of up and down the line of everybody using them, it's interesting.
When you get that presentation, kind of what's the presentation like, and what are you thinking as you're getting something like this information is being presented to you?
Yeah, so he did a really, really good job presenting it. He sold a lot of guys to at least give them a try, so we used them a lot in the cages. I think the big thing was like putting more wood where you make the most contact. In theory, I guess you could say, like just barely swing and misses. You can foul pitches off there because you have more wood in the barrel spot. So to my understanding, it can help you get deeper into counts by fighting pitches off. At bats where you just barely miss the pitch, but you put it in play. Like with more barrel there, you got a little bit more wood on it. You may have some more forgiveness there to where, just miss hits could be hits. And that's kind of the presentation that I remember on it. It's not necessarily, I don't think it really improves exit velocities or anything in that nature. It's just more of a contact quality thing. And like I said, his presentation, Lenny's a very, very smart guy. And, when he tells you something, typically guys listen because, he's no doubt the smartest guy in every room he walks in. So it's really cool to see these guys using them, having success with them, and, being able to know the guy, Lenny, a great dude. Really happy to see that, his studies and stuff are paying off, and it's kind of the talk of the town, so.
Those MIT guys tend to have a decent brain in their head, huh?
Yeah, no doubt, yeah. Way, way above my head, so you definitely feel, inferior when you're talking with him because he knows his stuff really well, so.
What was the feeling you had when you started swinging that in the batting cage?
Just a different feel, like I'm a creature of habit in a sense, like I like the feel that I've, gotten with the bat that I've used, the model that I've used. I have very rarely wavered from what I've swung, so just a completely different feel. Had multiple different models of the Torpedo, different weights, sizes, whatnot. It was just a different feel for me. So being that I'd had success with the bat I had, I kind of just stuck with it. And, who knows? I never used it in a game or any type of setting like that, just besides the cages. But obviously there's some guys that have taken a liking to it. So be interested to see the next few weeks if more teams get on it.
Finally, how much of this is the placebo effect? Because as you know, in baseball, if you feel like you have an advantage, you have an advantage. So much of this is mental. How much of it is just like guys think they have something that might be a little bit going in their favor, and that's really leading to some success?
Yeah, I think that's definitely the case. I think at the end of the day, you have a lot of really good major league hitters that are using them, and because they're having success, a lot of people that want to jump to conclusions and say the bat. I don't think when you're going bad that it's the bat's fault. I don't think when you're going well it's the bat's fault. So, I think all these guys, the home runs we've seen the Yankees hit, there's a lot of really good hitters that, do a lot of really good things in the batter's box, and I don't necessarily, think that the bat has that much to do with it like everybody's making it out to be. So, I don't know. We'll see.
Yes, we will see. But I love the candidness there of Brandon Lockridge. He became one of my favorite guys to talk to in the Padres clubhouse. Don't tell me what y'all think about that, right? Because that's one of those things where everybody goes kind of haywire. NBC Nightly News is sending news reporters out there to figure out what these torpedo bats are. They became that much of a talker. It's going to be interesting to see how many guys continue using these things. And also, as I was talking to a few folks in the Padres clubhouse this week, so if you move the sweet spot of the bat down just a little bit, well, now the end of the bat, which is where typically you're going to have part of the sweet spot, that's now going to become a part of the bat that's vulnerable. So that's a place where you can get some more either weak contact or broken bats. So now, do pitchers, when they see guys wearing or swinging those torpedo bats, do they now attack more outside to give more soft stuff away? Try to get that softer contact on the outside and maybe avoid throwing inside a little bit more often. So it's going to be interesting. Remember, baseball is a game of adjustments. You've heard that said time and time again, over and over and over again. So when the batters get something new that can adjust, the pitchers will be right on top of it, adjusting one more time. So nice job by B-Lock there to let us know what's going on with that. I got a couple of questions here. Daniel Aguayo, curious to know, who got the better deal, Jackson Merrill or the Padres? It's a very good question. And the answer to that, I would have to say probably the Padres. The Padres. There are estimates out there that Jackson Merrill, if he'd have gone through his next couple of years, remember, he's got 6 years where he's under control. 3 of those years are arbitration years. He probably would not have hit $15 million a year until at least arbitration year 2, which means he's getting paid more now. But the fact that he gave up, he would have hit free agency when he was 26 years old, which is the Juan Soto thing and the Fernando Tatis Jr. thing. If he would have hit free agency at the age of 26, he would have signed, he would have been in line for a $500 million contract. So yeah, Jackson Merrill has left a lot of money on the table by doing this, and God bless him for doing that. Now, again, when he hits 30, he's going to be, again, still right in his prime. He'll have a chance to sign another very lucrative 5 or 6 year contract. So he's not going to be wondering where his next meal is coming from. He will be right there and getting paid quite a bit. So congratulations to Jackson Merrill on that one. Here we go. Time for one more. Didi Gravener reminds me of Tony Gwynn, who care more about San Diego and the fan base. Yes, Didi, no question. That's the guy that I was thinking of as well, because Tony, he could have gone a lot of different places. He could have taken a lot more money. He could have gotten a massive payday from the Steinbrenners and the Yankees. He wanted to stay in San Diego and build something here. And darn it, if Mr. Padre probably didn't have some kind of an influence somehow on a very young Jackson Merrill. All right, folks, we got to get out of here. That's your On Friar podcast for this week. Thanks so much for those of you who hopped in and for listening to me ramble for about a half an hour here. Thanks to Brandon Lockridge for breaking down the Torpedo bats for us. Check us out every Thursday. By the way, the Padres now go to Wrigley Field for 3 against the Cubbies, and then to West Sacramento for 3 against the A's. It'll be a very different and interesting road trip. Is 13-0 on the table? We will find out. Have a great day, everybody.